and welcome to SULKNATIONtv. In this episode, I'm going to go through all of the modifications that I've done performance-wise under the bonnet of Project Sulk, my Mini Cooper S R53. I bought this car in August 2019 with the intention of improving it aesthetically as well as performance-wise, and yeah, I haven't got quite as much done in a year and a bit than I would have liked to have got done, but that's cars. That's Mini Cooper S R53s. That's trying to do stuff and failing life. And that is one of those things you've just got to suck up and be patient with. So I thought the best thing I can do is do a video on what mods have been done, because, you know, you're not going to see how-to videos very often from me anyway, but you definitely won't see a how-to install a reduced size supercharger pulley, because I had that done almost immediately when getting the car. So let's start with two things that I'm not going to go into much detail about that I've had done and have improved the car. The first thing is my Toyo Sports exhaust. Now, there is a full video essentially reviewing that exhaust. I like it a lot. I think it sounds great. It looks good, other than the tailpipes being slightly misaligned. So, like, you know, one's here and one's slightly further back. Yeah, that does my head in, but I could sort it out. Somebody in one of the comments to the video on the exhaust said, why don't you just put a spacer in there? That's a great idea. I'm going to do it. I haven't done it yet. That cost me 186 quid, including delivery. And that was a lot cheaper than those exhausts were going for. And other than being drony on motorways, I do really love the exhaust. The other thing that I'm not going to go into masses of detail about is my top-mounted intercooler. I've got an MTC Motorsport top-mounted intercooler. Now, it cost me $119.99. I went for a black one, and you know, the statistics that were essentially made available by MTC Motorsport made it look like it was an efficient upgrade over the stock intercooler. And, you know, having a bigger core means that essentially you're getting better cooling. And in all honesty, other than some build quality issues, such as, you know, the little clips at the front that snap off without, you know, any force whatsoever. I mean, I think you could blow on it and it would snap off, which, you know, is annoying. Other than that, it's been efficient, it's worked well, it's handled the abuse of the last year and a bit of being on my car, and other than a little bit of build quality problems, this quite clearly branded Hobo Intercooler is doing its job. Do I want to get a better one in the future? Yes. Am I going to do that in the next 6 months? Probably not. Does that upset me? Maybe. So when it comes to performance, I think the best thing to start with, we've got the two sort of, yeah, all right, they are performance-based mods, but they're not that interesting. Let's start at the biggest gain, brake horsepower-wise and sound-wise and, you know, drivability-wise. The biggest change was having a reduced-sized supercharger pulley put in place. Now, I went for a 15% reduced pulley. It's a Cavs one. I bought it along with the colder spark plugs and a new belt from Orange, and it cost me a combined total of £140. And instantly there was a change in performance, and it's one of those things where you go, well, that was 140 quid well spent. 140 quid for colder plugs, which were the NGK. In fact, I've made notes, so I'm going to just read off them. They were the NGK BCR8ES spark plugs and the correct fitting belt. The difference in the drivability of the car was incredible. It was already fun. This made it 100% more fun. In line with my Cavs 15% reduced pulley, I now have a Cavs lightweight crankshaft pulley, which is +2, a Cavs lightweight +5 alternator pulley. Now, again, I bought those from Orange. I thought, yeah, those three things, they need to match. They can all be Cavs, that's great. And they cost 120 quid for the crankshaft pulley and 50 quid for the alternator pulley. Now, yes, I did then have to spend a further £8 on a crankshaft bolt, because if you're messing around with the crankshaft, you must replace that bolt every time, or so I've been told. I don't mind doing it, it's 8 quid. Peace of mind, why not? And obviously I had to buy a slightly larger belt because I'd increased the size of the alternator and crankshaft pulleys. And I bought a new belt tensioner pulley from Lowen for £45. It was blue, because why not? And those three pulleys combined with the reduced size supercharger pulley have made this car, I mean, it's the next step. It definitely has been the next step. The supercharger pulley was amazing. Doing that reduction was incredible in the difference in drivability. Now, having replaced pretty much all of the pulleys, My God, the potential unleashed with this car. It's made me fall in love with the car all over again. It's so quick. I've also got uprated ignition leads. I went for Mr. Retro Leads, who, big shout out to Mr. Retro Leads. He makes them for you in the colour of your choice for £32.22p, which isn't a lot of money at all. And, you know, yeah, they don't really bring a performance gain in regard to how fast the car goes, but it's about reliability. And as Mr. Retro Leads himself states, they're designed to provide maximum spark quality. So your spark plugs are essentially getting reliable ignition each and every time. The quality of materials used is spot on. I went for 8mm rather than 7mm, which was the OEM standard. Bought a set of leads that are very much performance based in their build quality and reliability, and they look great. They live up to the hype. They're very good, and they're meant to be more reliable. That's all I really need to say, I suppose. I can waffle on and try and go, oh, well, maybe it's because... I'm not going to do that, because they're not a performance item to increase brake horsepower. They're a performance item to increase reliability. And, you know, anybody that owns an R53 Mini Cooper S knows that sometimes these cars can be a little bit unreliable. Not often, and I think labelling them as unreliable frequently isn't really fair on them, because they're not unreliable cars in themselves, but they can be unreliable with specific things. So, you know, anything that increases the reliability of my performance components, I'm all up for that. Along with my Mr. Retro Leads 8mm leads, I went for a new coil pack. I went for a Biru one, or Beru, or I don't know how you want to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Biru. I'd, again, you know, sought at some advice. I got some opinions. And so I went and bought it. It was 65 quid. Is it an upgrade on the OEM one? I don't know. But I did it anyway, and it works really well. So, you know, that was done in line with the ignition leads. If I'm going to change the leads, I might as well change the coil pack. I don't know how long that coil pack's been on the car. It could have been on the car since 2005. So I've replaced it. This next performance, let's say upgrade, modification, was to do with the induction kit. Now, this is a hot potato of conversation, the induction kit, because, wow, there's a lot of the Heat Soak Nation running about going, oh, you've got an open induction kit. Oh, heat soak for days. Look at all the heat soak, heat soak, heat soak, heat soak. Yeah, fine. You're not wrong. You're right. I am going to get more heat soak because I've got an open induction kit, but it sounds great. And the one that I had on there was also open at the time, and had a K&N filter that had clearly seen better days glued onto the housing and part of the pipe. Glued. It was glued on. So I bought a Ram Air one, $49.99 directly from Ram Air. I had Ram Air on my R50 Mini Cooper, and it sounded great on that. On this, maybe it takes away from some of the performance, but it certainly helps the sound. I mean, you can hear that induction on occasion. I mean, you know, when it's not drowned out by the exhaust and the supercharger whine. But I like the look of it. It looks good. I bought an intake hose from Modern Mini. I bought it in red because that's the current theme. Red and black in my engine bay. Instead of having that plastic OEM pipe, having this Modern Mini thick silicone intake hose, it looks better and it must perform better. I mean, you know, when you think about efficiency, that's going to be a more efficient thing than you know, brittle plastic that's been on the car for 15 years. So why not? That cost me $39.99, and I've left it open. Maybe one day, you know, if I get to the point where I decide to take this R53 on the track, then I might go for a closed box version, because apparently they're more efficient. But I'm quite happy with potentially getting a little bit of heat soak, because in all honesty, I'm not on the track. I live in Britain. It's cold in Britain. There's only so much heat soak you're going to get. And the other reason, don't care. I don't care. So, you know, if you're into, you know, things not heat soaking, or if you're one of the Heat Soak Nation who likes to shout heat soak to everything, that's cool. Do it. I don't mind, but I don't care. So, yes, the next two things aren't really performance based. I mean, you could argue one of them is purely for visual effect, really. But bracing, I've got a K2 front strut bar. Now, this was on the car when I bought it. It's an alloy one. It was silver, like the car. but it was dirty. It needed a clean, and I liked it. And I know that bar does a lot because it does add stability. It does add it does add stability, and it does add rigidity. It does add stability and makes the car more rigid. So it's definitely doing a job. And I painted it red to go with the theme of the engine bay. And, you know, when I've driven the car without it on, it doesn't feel the same. I can't quite explain the difference. You'd have to drive the car with it on and without it on, but it definitely makes a difference when it's on. The other brace-based thing in the engine bay are the much sought after cabrio braces. Now, I've got a roof. It's not a convertible. Do they really add to the rigidity? Do they really add and make the car more rigid? No, of course they don't. They would, you know, they've definitely got a role to play in a car with no roof, but they don't really make any difference to this car. But they look great. I bought them directly from Jonathan English of Modder Mini fame, one of the owners of Modder Mini and Torque Monkey Garage up in Essex. Is it in Essex? It might be in Kent. I think it's in Essex. It's probably in Essex. It's Chelmsford. That sounds like Essex, doesn't it? Oh well. I bought it direct from him. He unfortunately was breaking his R53 after it just stopped working, and he got them powder coated and finished in red for me, and they cost me 80 quid, which, you know, all right, is relatively expensive for something that doesn't really do anything and is there for just cosmetic effect. But again, they're red. I like the look of them, and they just add to what happens under the bonnet of the car, and that's really what it's about. If you open your bonnet, you want to be proud of what's in there. You want it to look good. You know, this isn't a show car. It will never be a show car standard because I like driving it on the edge too often that it's more likely going to break than be showy. But yeah, I like it when it's clean. Yeah, I like it working properly. And so the mods under the bonnet, yes, most of them are very much practical and, in all honesty, superb. And some of them, maybe they're just more for show. Maybe they're not really adding anything in performance, but they look good. So weigh it up. Does this car perform and drive better than it did when I first bought it? Yes, it does. Do I regret any of the performance mods I've done to this car? No, I don't. Am I happy driving this car? Yes. Am I going to do more mods in the future? Yes. Are there going to be mods under the bonnet? Yes. Are they all expensive now because you've done all the cheap ones? Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more, then check out the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and of course subscribe. And until the next time, I've been me, you've been you, and well done for that.